I have been playing video games for literally as long as I can remember. My first console was a Sega Megadrive, and yes, I really am that old. I can still quite clearly remember sitting on an uncomfortable dining room chair in front of a CRT TV and playing games like everybody's favourite Sonic the Hedgehog and Mickey's Castle of Illusion. Absolute bangers. It was the 90s and it was a much simpler time for video games. After hearing this, and after reading the video's title, you might expect my answer to the question of what is the best console generation to be the Sega Megadrive, but you'd be wrong. I'll be discussing what is my personal favourite and why a little later on in the video. And before we get into the core of the video, I just want to remind everybody that there is no right answer. Everybody has their own opinion that has been built up based on a variety of different reasons, and that is okay. I'd love to see some discussion going on in the comments below about what is your personal favourite and why. And with all that cleared up, let's get back into it. Now, as the video title suggests, we're going to be talking about which is the best generation of console, but in order to do this, we first need to determine what exactly defines the best. As mentioned a moment ago, is it ultimately decided by nostalgia and the way that the console makes you feel? Or is it decided by the library of games that was available during the console's life cycle? Or even by the technical improvements that the particular generation of console brought along with it? If we base our answer to this question on technical improvements, then it's a very open and closed case. The current generation of console obviously wins, as each new generation of console is an improvement on the last in terms of performance and technology. With that being said, personally, I don't think that technical improvement alone is the deciding factor here, and I highly doubt that many of you watching this video are of the opinion that the PS5, Xbox Series X, current generation is the best generation of console to have ever existed. And why is this? Because although the current generation of console may ultimately be the higher performing and more impressive piece of equipment on a technical level, it also lacks certain elements that I think are crucial in becoming the best. So, could it be decided by the library of games that was made available to us during a particular generation? In part, absolutely. I mean, what good is a console if there's no good games to play? This is a somewhat easy point to debunk, as each generation brings with it new games, as well as carrying over previous titles with the likes of backwards compatibility and services like Xbox Game Pass. So this point really could be applied to pretty much every generation that has come before. So this leaves us with good old nostalgia, those rose-tinted glasses, and the emotional attachment that we develop based on past experiences. And ultimately brings me back to the point that I wanted to make with the video's opening point, and that is simply that nostalgia could be considered the deciding factor in this debate. You could very easily argue that those fond childhood memories that I have of a creaky old chair, a TV that weighed as much as a small car, and some fairly primitive games compared to today's standards, are all perfectly valid reasons to choose a favourite generation of console. Nostalgia is powerful. The fact is though, is that I have fond memories of almost every generation of console. Name a console that has existed since the 90s and I can pretty much guarantee that I have some kind of fond memory associated with it. And this is a point that I'm sure many of you can relate to in some way. From the Sega Megadrive and the Super NES, to the PlayStation 1 and the N64, the PS2 and the original Xbox, the 360 and the PS3, the PS4 and the Xbox One, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and everything in between. We have been pretty well spoilt for choice over the years when you take the time to look back. So if the answer isn't found in technical highs, or in the library of games, or by nostalgia, then what is the answer? In my opinion, all three are necessary. On a conscious or subconscious level, you need all three of these points to form a bond that holds one particular generation of console above the rest. And this is why everybody has such a different take on the question. The Atari 2600 brought video games to the home in a way that had never been done before. The Game Boy, which was not the first handheld console, brought portable gaming to a much wider audience than had been previously achieved. The Xbox One focused on internet-based features like never before, including the ability to record and stream gameplay. The PlayStation 5 introduced higher frame rates and ray tracing, taking video game consoles to new heights. There are more than 1,000 different home video game consoles to exist, starting all the way back in 1972 with the Magnavox Odyssey. And you could probably argue that any one of these is the best, based on your own personal reasons. Okay, so of all the generations of console to have come and gone, which is my personal top pick? For me, it is and will likely always be the PlayStation 4. Everything about the PlayStation 4 makes me smile. The way the console looks, the sound and the beep it makes when you fire it up. The ambient system music lives rent-free in my head, and has done for 10 years. The huge library of absolutely fantastic games that was introduced during its time, and the huge leap in performance that it brought along with it, and the way that the console was present during the reshaping of the video games industry that we have seen over the past 10 years. I have so many good memories of my time with a PS4, some that immediately jump to mind. My buddy and me heading over to our local game store to pick up our PS4s, and the excitement that I felt at the time, because they were readily available back in 2014. The first time I ran King's Fall in Destiny, just in absolute awe of the throne room. Any Destiny players here will know what I'm talking about. The friendships that I unintentionally made with some of the most random, out there but brilliant people I have ever encountered. Even just simply where I was at in life, on a personal level at this point in time. Make no mistake, I do not by any means think that the PS4 is perfect, because it isn't. For instance, I still own my first PS4 that I purchased back in 2014, and I have worked with industrial equipment that makes less noise than this console. It sounds like the back end of a Boeing 747. The PS4 was also prone to overheating and some software glitches, but despite any issues that were present during the console's life cycle, for me personally, it is still the best generation of console to date, and I'll die on this hill. But let me know, what console do you think deserves to be crowned the best, and why? Do you have any core fond memories related to gaming? Sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, you can do so by leaving a like, it helps me out a ton, by sharing the video, and of course by subscribing. Thanks guys, good night, peace.